Good morning, everyone. My name is Tim Fall, and I'm the Executive Director here at Southeast Works. And on behalf of our staff and the individuals we serve, I welcome you and thank you for coming here this morning to our 18th Annual Candidates Hour, brought to you on behalf of the Developmental Disability Alliance of Western New York. Our program offers 3 minutes of uninterrupted time to outline each candidate's positions on questions we have submitted to them. Afterwards, we'll have time for refreshments over in the area to my left, and to speak with some of the candidates who are able to stay for a while. Our moderator this morning is Al Vaughters, news reporter for News 4 Buffalo WIVB. I'll turn the program over to him. Al?
Thanks, Tim. So when I was asked to moderate this forum today, I was also told that this is the 18th year for the Candidates Forum. Prior to this, the 17, most of those were moderated by the late Brian Kale, colleague over at Channel 7. And so I said, well, I've got some big shoes to fill, and I'll try not to disappoint. So welcome, everybody, to the 18th year of the Candidates Hour. Now, you more than likely noticed, how could you miss the hundreds of flags out front? Those flags have been planted along the entrance of the building. Each of the 1,002 flags represent an individual with lifelong developmental disabilities right here in Western New York, waiting for an appropriate residential option. Of the 1,002 Western New Yorkers that need placement, they need placement immediately, and there are no options for them. Now, we're told that a person needs to be essentially homeless to get placed, and it's likely it may not be the most suitable placement. There has been no building of residences for individuals with developmental disability since 2008. Currently no plans to do so to meet this critical need, and I'm sure you've seen our coverage on the news. Over the years, we've reiterated this over and over and over, and it just doesn't seem to be changing very much. Now, the ground rules for the Candidates Hour. I'll get to the ground rules and then we can get going here. The candidates will have 3 minutes of uninterrupted time to address their issues, particularly those issues pertaining to individuals and their families with developmental disabilities. Our timekeeper is Janet, who will keeping a stopwatch, makes my job a little bit easier. She has a stopwatch, and each candidate will get a sign displayed letting them know when they have 2 minutes left, 1 minute left, 30 seconds, and when time is up. And I guess I'll have to be the sergeant at arms for that. Not too hard to do. I've done that before. And with that being said, let's begin. Our first speaker today is the Erie County Controller, Stefan Mihailou.
Thank you for having me. My name is Stefan Mihailou. I am the Erie County Controller. I'm the proud son of Polish and Ukrainian immigrants who came to Buffalo in 1965 from Ukraine. And I half-jokingly say they came here to America with no money, and they learned the English language from the numbers 1 through 75 and BINGO. But I learned some great lessons from my immigrant parents, especially about the value of a dollar. My Baba, my grandmother, taught me about when it comes to money, you honor your obligations, you pay your bills on time, and learn the value of a dollar. And I've done that as your county controller. I spend your tax dollars like it's mine. I led by example. I cut my own budget this year by $500,000, a 14% reduction in my budget this year. Next year, I cut my budget by $80,000. Your organization and many families that we serve are doing more with less, and I'm doing the same in the Office of County Controller. I do not take a county car. I pay for my own gas. I pay for my own cell phone. I even went dumpster diving practically, and I picked my furniture out of the garbage at the county surplus. So I wouldn't have to charge you money for things in my office. We've had a great year in the Office of Controller. We saved you $5 million. $5 million we saved by borrowing through the control board and its lower interest rate rather than Erie County. That's a significant amount of money, $5 million that we saved you, the taxpayers. We've had some wonderful audits this year. We did an audit at the very beginning of the year I wanted to lead by example. I audited my own office first. My own office first. If I'm going to be the gold standard the way Alfreda Slaminski was as Erie County Controller, I was going to do the same. And the office that I inherited was in pretty bad shape. For 2 months, my predecessor, they did not conduct bank reconciliations in Erie County government. We cleaned that up by the summer. I hired a 30-year private sector CPA for my deputy controller for audit. Someone with 30 years of government finance experience as my deputy controller on the audit and the finance side of the house. My associate deputy controller, 30-year private sector CPA. So I've surrounded myself with really strong professional fiscal professionals in the office. I've done more with less. I cut my own budget because that's exactly what you're doing as well. Now, being the son of immigrants, the right to vote is incredibly important. Last year, my father, over the past 10 years, voted for the very first time in a free country. Had he stayed under the rule of a communist regime, he never would have had the right to vote. So regardless of where you vote and how you vote this November, I would strongly encourage you, in the same way my immigrant father does right now, to please participate in the democratic process. I humbly ask for your vote. I say if you plan on voting for my opponent, I only ask one favor, you vote only once. But if you do go to the polls, I humbly ask for your support in November. And again, I am Stefan Mihailu, your Erie County Controller, and I thank you for inviting me to be here today. Thank you.
Our next candidate to speak will be Kevin Gaughan, who is the Democrat candidate for Erie County Controller. Oh, perfect timing. That's okay. Mr. Gaughan, it makes it look like I kind of stretched so you could get here and get the microphone just in time. Democrat candidate for controller, Kevin Gaughan.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? Everyone who's feeling well, say aye. Wonderful. Everyone who's lucky, feels lucky to be alive on this glorious Western New York morning, say aye. And everyone who knows in their heart and believes in their mind that this is the greatest region in America and the world, say aye. It's a great, I think my work is done here, Al.
You missed the introduction here. We have Janet here. You have 3 minutes to speak, and she's going to give you time.
Wonderful.
Time's there. And
I'll take 2. It's a great...
And I'm the referee.
Understood.
Okay.
I just want to say 2 things. It's a wonderful honor to be here at Southeast Works, which since 1974 has done the most noble work in our community. One of my great heroes, Franklin Roosevelt, in 1932, looked across America and said that he found a country that was 1/3 ill-fed, ill-housed, and ill-nourished. And since that moment, it's been an American tradition and a proud one that government has its principal responsibility to touch another person's life, to solve a problem, to ease a pain, and to reduce the suffering. I'm a Democratic candidate for Erie County Controller, which when you think about it, perhaps doesn't have all that much to do with the average working person's life or those of our brothers and sisters with development disabilities. But it should, and it can, if the office is held by someone who understands, again, that the purpose of government is to solve a problem. I think the work that Southeast Works does here, the Workforce Development Center, and government as a whole, has a moral responsibility to provide access, opportunity, jobs, support to those brothers and sisters of ours who are developmentally disabled or challenged. We all know from the increasing amount of children with autism, those who are on the spectrum. My family's touched by that. I think all of our families, many of our families are. And the opportunity for me to be a public servant, to serve as Erie County Controller, I can tell you one thing. I will do everything in my power to root out any misuse or inappropriate use of government funds, of taxpayer funds, and I will make sure that those funds are allocated and put to the use for which they are intended, and that is to help those who need it the most. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and grateful to see you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is the Democrat candidate for 1st District. Hi, Kim. Kim Root, photographer extraordinaire for Channel 4. Our next candidate is the Democrat candidate for 1st District, Erie County Legislature, Barbara Miller Williams.
Good morning to each and every one of you. It is certainly my pleasure to be here. My name is Barbara Miller Williams, and I am the candidate for the Erie County Legislature in the 1st Legislative District. I have served as a legislator in the past, and I've also served as a council member. One of the things that is near and dear to my heart is having the opportunity to serve. In my capacity as a servant, it's very important, and I reach back in my past when I remember my mom, who made it very clear and evident that to whom much is given, much is required. I am blessed, and I know that it is important that I reach back and look out for those who may not have the privileges that I have had and I have. When I look out at the audience today, know that in my heart, as your representative of the 3rd District, I will make sure that your voices are heard, that your needs are met, and that Erie County remains at the forefront of serving the needs of those, irregardless of whatever disability you may have, irregardless of whatever life challenge you may encounter. It will be my responsibility to make sure that your needs are addressed and that we do everything within our power to make sure that your voices are heard. I've served as a Buffalo police officer in the past, and I was always able to be out in the community to help those who had the needs. I'm also a Master Sergeant in the United States Army Reserve, and it's my honor and my privilege to serve in that capacity as well. But one of the most important things for me is the fact that I am a mother, and I'm a grandmother, and I'm a member of a family that we love each other, we support each other, and we understand that we're all different, but at the end of the day, we're all very much alike. We all feel pain, we all have needs, and I say those things to you because I want you to know, as your legislator of the 1st Legislative District, when you go out to vote in November, please keep me in mind, Barbara Miller Williams. Please know that you have a friend in your community who will advocate and look out for you on your behalf. Thank you for this opportunity to come before you this morning.
Thank you. Our next candidate to speak, Jennifer Sturgeon, who is the Republican, Conservative, and Independent Party's candidate for 3rd District, the Erie County Legislature.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. It is indeed an honor and a privilege. I have the luxury of being able to say not just what I will do as your county legislator, but what I already do in my private practice as an attorney. I have a background in clinical psychology and a master's degree in criminal justice, and what happens to people when they come through the court systems is of paramount importance to me. As someone who works closely with the mental health courts in Erie County and the veterans courts in Erie County and the drug courts in Erie County, I am familiar with the needs of people with developmental disabilities, as many other disabilities, and the types of issues that they have and the types of concerns that they have and need to have addressed. In addition to representing people in court, I also work closely with police, probation, and the court personnel to ensure that whatever needs they have are taken care of. I spoke with some folks from Advantage Professionals this morning to address the employment needs of people with developmental disabilities, and they are seeking to look for more cooperation and programming with this organization and other organizations to ensure that there is appropriate employment for people as well. It is important that everyone in Erie County has an opportunity to support their families, to support themselves, and be members of this community. I'd like to thank everyone again for letting me be here. And that is it. Thank you.
Our next candidate is the incumbent 3rd District County Legislature Democrat candidate, Lynn Marinelli.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here again. I always enjoy this. This is the fun part of doing campaigning, as well as going door to door and meeting everyone right at their homes. I want to thank everyone for being here today and giving of your time to listen to us and then becoming an informed voter by November 5th. I represent the 3rd District, which is North Buffalo, and Town of Tonawanda and Village of Kenmore. Anyone live in North Buffalo, Tonawanda, Kenmore? All right, thank you. Nice to be here, and I hope to earn your vote. The most important things that have been going on in Erie County are making sure we're fiscally sound and we're managing the services people want. I serve on the Finance and Management Committee and the Audit Committee. I'm very proud that under the leadership of County Executive Mark Poloncarz, together with Governor Cuomo, we got done the extension of the Buffalo Bills lease agreement so we can keep the Bills in Buffalo. And usually I see some Buffalo Bills colors here. I don't know, are we rooting for our home team here? All right, I know there's a Steeler fan back here too. All right. I also want to thank Mayor Brown, who's here with us today, because Erie County and the City of Buffalo are working very closely together to get things done, especially while the federal government's going through some really challenging, awful times. Instead of us waiting for the federal money to come in to get Kenmore Avenue done, we're getting it done, and making sure that our services are being provided to the people who live here and need them. I will continue to work with our administrations and all leaders in government and our citizens to make sure we get things done. Together with that, we serve on the Workforce Investment Board. I'm the chair of the Community Enrichment Committee, and we fund Erie Community College. And since jobs in the economy are the most important issue of our community, that is our local money for local people for local jobs, and I will continue to make sure that is provided for. Tourism is also one of the 3 areas that the state has identified as being our economic development area. It's tourism, advanced manufacturing, and life sciences. And we're going to make sure those areas are well taken care of and invested in, and make sure that we bring the tourists in here so we can get our sales tax dollars to keep our finances going. With that, I proudly serve on the Visit Buffalo Niagara Board and the Olmsted Board. My committee also makes sure we get cultural funding and library funding. Do you still use the libraries? All right, then we'll keep that going. Under the leadership of County Executive Mark Poloncarz, we work to restore the rodent program because people will see a rat in their backyard and they don't want it there, so we get our health department in there, and I'm proud to serve on the Board of Health and the Health and Human Services. It's a pleasure to be here. I will continue to be your advocate if you keep me there, and I hope to earn your vote come November 5th. Thank you.
I have to say, I've moderated these kind of forums before, and I have to, our candidates so far have been sticking to their time limits. I've never seen that happen before. This is a great day. Our next, our next candidate is the incumbent Erie County legislator from the 6th District, Republican Ed Rath.
Good morning. How's everyone doing this morning? Good, good. Glad to hear it. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Legislator Ed Rath, and I represent Amherst, Clarence, and Newstead in County Hall right now. Before we go any further, and Amanda, I don't want you to turn away. I want everyone to give a round of applause to Amanda Baumler for organizing this event today. Congratulations, Amanda. Thank you. Amanda is an old friend of mine, and you did a wonderful job again this year, Amanda. Thank you. Well, it is, again, an honor for me to be here and stand before you. This is now the fourth time that I have done it, as I've been a legislator for the past 6 years. And this is my favorite event every year. And as I walk around and as I talk to everyone, it really is wonderful to see you and to talk to you about issues. Before I go into some of the specific questions, I want to point to Stephanie, who I talked to right as I walked in, and her mother, Pat, about the issue of paratransit and the transportation challenges that you are facing. And you have my word that I'm going to look into this issue, and I'm going to ask our state representatives about the ideas that you had for funding for paratransit and transportation issues. So Stephanie, I will work on your issue right after today. Thank you for asking that question of me, Stephanie. One of the issues that was mentioned to us as we were preparing for today is the New York State requirement to move housing from institutional settings to a more integrated community setting. And ladies and gentlemen, I absolutely support this federal and state initiative to get people with developmental disabilities into a more loving, caring, and appropriate setting for their housing. You have my word that I will work aggressively with our federal and state representatives to help that transition away from those institutional settings and into a more integrated community setting. We don't play a direct role in the county legislature in these housing issues, but we certainly can advocate for your interests, and absolutely I will take care of doing that. In addition, in county government, some of the areas that we help fund are social services, senior services, and youth services. These are specific areas that can directly affect you all and the services that you receive from Erie County. You have my commitment to continue to work with all those departments, identify the issues and the needs that you have, and continue to fund and prioritize the very important services that we have that reach into your community. Additionally, there has been some real concern about employment opportunities when it comes to people with developmental disabilities. I read statistics of anywhere from 14 to 20% of members with developmental disabilities are employed. That number is far too low. We have to absolutely prioritize additional funding for education opportunities, for work opportunities, and for housing opportunities. There's an organization by the name of Suburban Adult Services Initiative in Erie County that does a wonderful job of employing and giving housing opportunities to people with developmental disabilities. I will continue to partner with SASE and other organizations so that you have meaningful employment. Again, it really is an honor for me to stand here before you. I am Ed Rath. I'm running for re-election to the Erie County Legislature in the 6th District. Please go out and vote on November 5th. It's very, very important that everyone participate in the process, and I certainly would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Our next candidate is the incumbent mayor of Buffalo, Democrat Byron Brown.
Hello, everyone. Hello. It's a real pleasure to be here with all of you, and it's great to see so many people that are here for this Candidates Hour. I want to thank Southeast Works and the Developmental Disabilities Alliance of Western New York for organizing the Candidates Hour, and I want to thank Mr. Al Vaughters for serving as our moderator today. When I took office as mayor, Buffalo was a much different place. We had higher taxes. We've been able to cut our tax rate residentially by over 15%, commercially by almost 28%. We had the landscape of our city lined with vacant, unsalvageable structures, many that needed to be demolished. We have been able to demolish over 4,700 structures at a cost of $100 million, cleaning up the landscape and neighborhoods in the city of Buffalo. Crime was higher in the city. We've been able to reduce crime overall by 20%, violent crime by 14%, and we have been able to add 205 surveillance cameras and over 100 police officers to make our neighborhoods safer for our residents. We're very proud that we have worked very closely with the members of the disability community. I have hired an an ADA coordinator who is a high-ranking member of my administration, Delia Cadle, who is our Deputy Corporation Counsel. We have monthly meetings with members of the disability community to make sure that we are listening to your concerns and addressing those concerns in the city of Buffalo. We are revising our housing and building codes in the city of Buffalo for the first time in over 60 years. It's called the Green Code. And we have had meetings with members of the disability community to make sure that your concerns, your input is involved as we revise our building code in the city. Finally, we have held neighborhood meetings with members of the disability community to listen to your issues. We are working hard to make Buffalo a city of hope and opportunity for every resident, where every resident feels the progress that's taking place in the city of Buffalo. And I want to thank the members of the disability community for your partnership with our administration, for your reaching out and sharing your concerns. And I want you to know that we will continue to partner with you. I am honored to serve as mayor of the city of Buffalo, and I'm asking for your continued support so that we can continue the work we've started. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And now our next candidate, the Republican candidate for mayor of the city of Buffalo, Sergio Rodriguez.
Thank you so much. My name is Sergio Rodriguez. I'm the candidate for Mayor of Buffalo. Hi there. Good to see you. Well, first I want to thank Southeast Works and all the partner organizations for putting such a great event together. I will certainly prioritize employment of those individuals who have developmental disabilities. I myself am a mentor at the Buffalo Veterans Treatment Court, and we assist veterans that deal with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury. Now, I want to take this opportunity to tell you why I'm running. First, Buffalo, the city of Buffalo, is facing issues of epidemic proportions. The issue of education, we're currently graduating 47% of our kids from our education system. That's less than half of the kids from high school. And we need an involved administration that's willing to prioritize this issue. Crime. The FBI just recently released statistics that named Buffalo the 11th most violent city in America. Homicides have increased, shootings have increased. Another issue is unemployment. We have the highest unemployment in the city of Buffalo in over 20 years, right now in the city of Buffalo. Poverty. We're the third poorest city in America, and since the current administration got elected, got put into office, we've lost over 20,000 residents. That's 20,000 fewer people living in the city of Buffalo. So what we need is leadership, vision, and a sense of urgency to address the issues that matter most to the people. I've been going out there every single day talking to members in the community, and they're not happy with what they see out there. They want an involved administration. They want an administration that's willing to seek involvement in the education system, like New York City and the city of Yonkers. They want an administration that's willing to put police officers on foot patrol to protect us. They also want an administration that's willing to do something about the lack of employment for city residents. I believe that with the right leadership, sense of urgency, and vision, and rolling up your sleeves, getting involved hands-on with the community, we can do much better in the city of Buffalo to attract people to live in the city. I won't be the waterfront mayor. I'll be the mayor for every front, every part of the city of Buffalo. I can promise you that. And I'll continue to work hard, just as I did when I served in the Marine Corps. And I'll continue to work hard, just as I have done for the past 10 years through my involvement in community organizations, volunteering, to help low-income seniors, our veterans, and our youth. So again, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to address you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate, the candidate for Family Court Judge, Deanne Trippi.
All right, I'm afraid to touch the microphone, but I have to put it down. Okay. I'm Deanne Trippi. I'm running for Erie County Family Court Judge. It really is so nice to be among all of you today. I enjoyed walking around and introducing myself, and many of you came up to me and introduced yourself to me, and I've enjoyed that. I hope after we're done here, when the presentations are done, I can continue to meet you and we can continue our conversations. So I'm running for Erie County Family Court Judge, and Family Court is a court that handles children. We handle custody, visitation, meaning time that children spend with their parents, grandparent visitation, child support issues, and a whole lot of other issues. I personally think it is the most important court, but I am a little prejudiced. I've been an attorney 18 years, and I do all family law and matrimonial law. So for me, adults and children with disabilities is extremely important. Not only have I had clients that I've represented in family court, but I also have a special needs nephew. He's now 15 years old, but he is truly the light of my life, and I look through life through his eyes, because in his world, he sees life as perfect. He makes a game out of anything that you find on the floor. And if we could only think in those terms and we stop stressing about the little things, our lives would be so much better. But when my nephew was born, the doctors knew there was something wrong with him, and they immediately started testing him. And it turns out he has a syndrome called Cri-du-Chat, which is he's missing a piece of his 5th chromosome. And because you never know how much of that chromosome is missing, you never know what the effects will be. And they gave my sister a very, very grim outcome. But my sister is a special education teacher. And as far as she was concerned, she was going to make him the best that he could be. And he is amazing. Where he was told he'd never walk, he walks and runs. They told us he'd never speak. He speaks, and not only does he speaks in sign language, because that really is his primary mode of communication. He tries to teach it to me, but he's a little bit too fast for me. So he also has a sense of humor, and it really is this very, very special part of my life. So all of you hold a special place. I'm asking for your support in November. And again, thank you so much for this privilege to be among you today.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Richard Dobson, Democrat candidate for Erie County Sheriff.
Good morning. Let me say that it is an honor and a privilege to be here today. By way of background, let me just say this. I'm a product of a broken home and a poor family. I mention that for one reason. I'm very much aware of the problems that face those in our society that are less fortunate than others. I've spent most of my adult life in service to my country and my community, first in the Air Force, and then with 32 years with the Erie County Sheriff's Department. I'm proud of that service. For the past number of years now, I've been reading the paper, watching TV, and I've seen things that are happening within the Sheriff's Department that sadden me. One of the first problems that I will address when I become your sheriff are the problems that we have in our Erie County Holding Center. The deplorable conditions, the rampant overtime that our deputies are forced to work, which decreases their efficiency and their job performance, the number of suicides. The main problem is the overtime. The people in the county tell us it's cheaper to pay the overtime than to hire new deputies. You know, that is cost effective. That does save money. That's the cost. But when someone in that holding center takes their own life, and we have to pay out lawsuit money that could be used for training deputies, that's a price. The people in that holding center are not all hardened criminals. The hardened criminals that are in there don't commit suicide. They've been in and out of prison for most of their life. The inmate that takes his own life in that holding center is someone who's mentally diminished, who has problems far beyond legal problems, who simply can't cope with society. The main responsibility of the sheriff is to protect that individual, to deliver him or her to a court in one piece. I talked about price. When a person commits suicide, they leave behind a family, loved ones. They will pay the price in their grief and their sorrow at the loss of that individual. I will hire more deputies. Let me put it this way, I will fight to hire more deputies so that the overtime isn't destroying their home life, their family life, isn't making them so tired that they aren't performing their job up to levels that they should. There was a position in the county facility, in the kitchen, that was mandated. It had to be manned. It wasn't. Because of that, an inmate went through the roof. I think you all remember the story on how long it took to get that man back. Millions of dollars in state funds. I'm sorry, my time is up. But I will be here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Next, the incumbent Erie County Sheriff, Republican, Tim Howard.
Thank you. I began my law enforcement career 41 years ago, and I've been at it ever since. I started in the village of Gowanda, which is in southern Erie County, and on one side of Gowanda was the Gowanda Psychiatric Center, and on the other side of the village was the Jane Addams Developmental Center. Since that time, one of those facilities has been morphed into a prison, while the other stands as a abandoned, falling down, dilapidated building, both as stark, sad reminders of big government's willingness to abandon and neglect what it does not find to be useful. But in the shadows of those sad stories, I watched the formation in the surrounding communities of a number of independent living centers. As those centers were expanded and well embraced by the local communities where they were being built, I became very, very much aware of the special needs of the individuals that were occupying and living in those buildings, including their great increase in their vulnerability to be the victims of crime, as well as an increased likelihood of them being lost or becoming lost. The Erie County Sheriff's Office has two programs in response to that. If you're not aware of them, I would invite you to look at erie.gov/sheriff and look at the Yellow Dot program, which is a means of telegraphing medicine dependencies for individuals that have or might have trouble communicating. And the second program that we're very important of and actually partners with Southeast Works in doing is the Project Lifesaver for individuals that are likely to wander. Now, we were invited to address some questions or some comments. First had to do with discrimination in housing. I'd like to say I'm opposed to discrimination wherever we find it. The second was employment opportunities for individuals with special needs, and we're very proud we just went to a commissary program for inmates to package certain foods for inmates, and the company we contracted with, I've suggested, ask them to contact Southeast Works as a possibility of using a workforce here. And the last of those was the resources that are being diverted away from mental health. And I've been speaking about that a good part of 2013. New York State's willingness to divert money away from mental health when it's been recently recognized that 1 out of 5 individuals has an undiagnosed mental illness, and certainly that 2/3 of the firearms deaths across the country are the result of suicides. So these are issues that are being addressed, and I thank you for the opportunity to have met with you here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate for sheriff, Erie County Sheriff Bert Dunn.
Good morning. As an Erie County Sheriff's Lieutenant and Deputy Sheriff, I've responded to many calls over the years at independent living centers where we assist residents and employees on a first responder basis. These centers provide an incredibly important role in our community. It gives people with disabilities an opportunity to live on their own and work independently. In addition, in addressing the questions, I support all of those functions for helping folks with disabilities. And as we roll through this hour, it's important that we take time to think about all the different people out there that get serviced by the Erie County Sheriff's Office. It's a county-wide agency providing services to all our residents. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, for having us. And I don't want to take a lot of time, but some of the things that I think we need to think about too as well when we're talking about the Erie County Sheriff's Office is the services we provide countywide. If we properly use all our resources and we're efficient and effective in providing these services, we're going to benefit by that. As sheriff, I would like to improve all our services that we offer to our county residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next candidate is the incumbent Erie County Legislator for the 9th District, Republican Lynn Dixon.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? I have to tell you, I got the best hug ever from Glenn this morning when I came in. Thank you, you made my day, Glenn. I currently represent the 9th District, which includes all of the town of Hamburg, all of the city of Lackawanna, and a little part of South Buffalo, or as I like to call it, a little slice of heaven, South Buffalo. I have served in the county legislature now for 4 years. I am the proud mother of 4 children. I live in the village of Hamburg, and 2 of those kids are teenagers, so your prayers are appreciated. Yes. I do in my neighborhood, some of the questions that were posed to us, that some of the issues that you wanted to see addressed were housing needs for people with developmental disabilities. I can tell you that on my street, there's a home that is home to some folks with developmental disabilities. They are phenomenal neighbors. I wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. And I do think it's important that we mainstream, we give everybody the opportunity. You all have a special place in my heart as well. I can tell you that a couple of years ago in county government, there were some proposed cuts in the budget to some positions that were deemed no longer necessary because of modern technology. Well, those positions were filled by some folks with developmental disabilities. We restored those positions in the county budget, and they are currently working in Erie County government, and they're phenomenal employees. There's another question with respect to funding for programs of those with mental health issues. We absolutely have to take care of the most vulnerable among us. I know there have been some questions recently in Erie County government with respect to social services, and particularly child protective services. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've met with a couple of CPS workers and caseworkers. I've met with 2 women who sought refuge in a home because they were the victims of domestic violence and had nowhere else to turn. I've spoken with a police detective, a member of the clergy. about where the system is failing those that need us most and what we can do to fix it. I do believe that now that thankfully that it's on the radar, that we will do more than we've fixed a little bit. You know, we've added some more CPS workers, but beyond that, I think we have to delve further into what some of the core issues are. When you go into a home, is the person, is the child, is the adult, are they somebody with a developmental disability, a mental health disability? How do we address their specific needs? How do we not treat them with a broad brush? And I think those are, you know, some of the issues that sometimes, with respect to social services, we don't get into it deep enough to take care of those, again, the most vulnerable among us. I want to thank you very much for having me. This is always one of my favorite events, too, and you guys are great. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, then we will go to the Republican candidate for 8th District Erie County Legislature, Ted Morton.
Good morning, everybody. Boy, this is like coming home for me. I've had a 25-year professional and personal relationship with Southeast. So many of you in the audience are almost like family to me. So thank you again for hosting this. Matter of fact, I was at the very first Candidates Hour in 1996. So I was obviously a lot younger, a lot thinner, and I had a lot more hair, believe me. I've lived here in Western New York my entire life. I went to UB, graduated with a degree in finance. I've done personal financial planning ever since then. I live about a mile from Southeast, the building right here. The district that I'm campaigning for in the 8th Legislative District includes Southeast in almost every one of its residential homes. It's about a third of Cheektowaga, closest to Transit Road and going down French Road, all of Depew, all of Lancaster, all of Alden. So if any of you folks are part of that district, I would certainly appreciate your support this year. You know, in the 25 years I've had a relationship here, I've seen your programs grow from a few dozen to hundreds and hundreds of people being impacted. And again, I've seen it on a professional and a personal way. Matter of fact, I live right around the corner from one of your homes, right on Como Park, and I couldn't be prouder of what I've seen, and with the employees here, the management here, every one of you in the audience, every one of you affected with Southeast. It's just, it's an amazing organization. You know, in my opinion, the purpose of government, the two main reasons for government, number one, are to protect its citizens, the safety of its citizens. And you know, I'm gonna leave that up to the sheriff candidates, okay? But the second thing that I believe government is there for is to assist those that need assistance, whatever it might be. And of course, Southeast and all its affiliated partners fall into that tremendously. You know, whether it's housing, whether it's employment assistance, or any of the other necessary community resources, as a legislator, I will not do anything to hurt the developmental disabled. And I guarantee that I will work with my colleagues in the legislature when elected so that we are enablers and not detractors. Thank you all very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Winnie Fisher, who is the Democrat candidate, 8th District, Erie County Legislature.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Winnie Fisher, and I'm the Democratic as well as Law and Order candidate for District 8 for Erie County Legislature. And I'm very happy and honored to be here really for two reasons. One, as you already heard, Southeast Works is housed in the heart of District 8, so I would be so proud to represent us all here. But the second reason is my mom is Sharon Fisher. And some of you may remember Sharon because she worked here for over 20 years. And that deserves a shout out. And It was so nice to run into some of her colleagues and to speak with you, and I look forward to speaking with you after the presentation as well. I grew up with Southeast. My mom started working when Southeast was housed in Alden, and I walked the halls with you. I went on field trips, Darien Lake, movies, bowling. I've been with you through it all. And if I'm fortunate enough, if the voters decide that I would be their choice to represent District 8, I promise I would be your voice because I've walked your shoes and I know the challenges that we all face. I've been a teacher for 24 years, and as a teacher, I know everyone has special needs, everyone has challenges, everyone has struggles in life, everyone. And I would work to meet the struggles and challenges and things that you face. Living in Alden, we have several different housing options, and I have visited there several times. I've sat on the porch on West Main Street to enjoy concerts, and housing options, they offer diverse opportunities. They enrich communities, and I think we need more of them. I've walked with your work crews with Bruce Sovereign and Ken Levon, so I know how important the work crews are. And I run into you guys all the time at Wegmans over there on Dick Road, and I enjoy talking to you and hearing what your needs are. And you do approach me all the time and let me know. Why am I running? Because I feel that we need a voice. I feel that sometimes people are afraid to go and speak out. They don't feel comfortable. They feel people aren't listening to them. As a teacher, I've spoken out for my children. I'm not afraid to speak out. I'm not afraid to ask questions and work to what I feel we need. So hopefully, in November, if you're interested, you live in District 8, which covers Alden, Lancaster, Depew, South Cheektowaga, I would love to be your voice, our voice, and I would ensure that our needs in county government would be met. Thank you again.
Well, we moved along fast here. Our next candidate, and it looks like last on the list, last but not least, the incumbent 10th District Erie County Legislator, Republican Joe Lorigo.
Good morning. Nice guys finish last is the slogan that people like to say. It's an honor to be here. My name is Joe Lorigo. For the past 2 years, I've represented District 10 in the county legislature. That includes 7 towns: West Seneca, Elma, Marilla, Aurora, Wales, Holland, and Colden. Anybody here from those towns? All right, welcome. Again, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for taking the time to come and participate. As one of our colleagues up here mentioned, I believe government has 3 main focuses: public safety, infrastructure, and taking care of those who can't take care of themselves. And I know that there were a number of issues that we were asked to address today during our 3 minutes. And one of those was housing, and the fact that the federal government and state government is closing a number of institutional facilities in favor of more home-type environments, loving and caring people. And I can tell you that in my private sector life as an attorney, I've represented People Inc. just in that sort of situation, where members of neighborhoods are trying to oppose group homes and People Inc. type developments in their area, and we fought against that. So I fought against that in my private life. I'll continue to fight against that in the county legislature as well. We don't have as much to do with it in terms of the regulations. That's more for towns and villages. But certainly, if we're ever asked to help, I would be glad to support those type of environments. Another issue had to do with employment. Suburban Adult Services is actually headquartered in my district in Elma. I've had a number of meetings with people there. I've toured the facilities, gone through everything. I think they're doing great work. They recently acquired the Kazoo factory. I know there's a lot of people with developmental disabilities working in that factory. I think it's fantastic. I think we should do everything we can to help them continue that and expand their reach. And I look forward to doing that in county government. Again, it's been an honor to be here. It's been an honor to serve for these past 2 years. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to talk to you after the presentation is over. Thank you.
Okay, one thing I have to ask, and I'm afraid to ask this question, did we miss anybody? All right, one flaw. Listen, that wraps things up, and you know what? We got to give these folks a hand because they were polite, they stuck to the timetable. Never seen that happen before, and it's all for you. And you've got some tough decisions to make. We heard some really great things from these candidates, really tough decisions to make on Election Day. Now, they asked me to mention, you're welcome to stay. We have some light refreshments over here afterwards. And remember, I think I heard on the news today, today's the last day to register to vote for the November election. So make sure if you're not registered that you register today. And most of all, go vote. Thank you very much for coming out and drive safely.